Welcome to the By Steve podcast.
What up? This is the By Steve podcast. We are, as always, unedited. It's Thursday evening, and I'm here with a bottle of San Pellegrino sparkling water. I'm one of them guys, and it's podcast time for this week. I hope you are all well. I hope everyone is good. We took to Instagram to see what people wanted today. The last few weeks we've hit quite a lot, or I've hit quite a lot of basketball stuff. Scotty's jumped on a couple as well, one of my mates, the SAS podcast. So we've combined the two across the platforms the last few weeks. And yeah, we took to Instagram to see what the people wanted. And some of them wanted some ridiculous stuff. So just a quick overview of the topics that people wanted initially, and we ended up covering one, we will end up covering one. So what did people want? More dating stories, like the one about the girl with the one eye and deaf in one ear. That will come. There's going to be a dating episode at some point. First dates from wherever around the world. Life when you was in Russia. That's, spent nearly 2 years working in Russia. Why do you always wear a white vest or a black vest? It's not a podcast topic, but a valid question. Because my nan always said, wear a vest and stay warm. And now I just wear a vest to try and look hench. And then, where am I playing basketball next season? Well, no idea about that, not realistically. And then the one that we decided on, career change. Tell us about how you changed your job from a teacher to a coach and the doubts that came with that and all of the fluff. So, what up, AJ? Great question. So, for those of you that don't know, and there might be a lot of you because I don't really talk about it too much, I used to be a college lecturer. I used to be a trainer assessor. I used to work at one of the best academic colleges in the country at that point in time. My career into teaching was not straightforward. I never wanted to be a teacher, and that's probably why I didn't really last. I went to hospitality and business school, came out of college, and went straight into the catering and hospitality business world, and was basically across 2 or 3 years. I was a training manager for a mainstream catering company. I was a head chef. I was a stores manager. I was a restaurant manager. So I did various different roles within that kind of like arena. And then basically through an agency, a job came up at this college to work back of house for their educational catering sector. They needed somebody to buy and arrange menus, foods, blah, 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 for the kids to learn to cook. And then basically what happened was one day, if I remember it well enough, was the line manager came in, one of the teachers was off sick, and it was a case of, can you just keep an eye on these kids? Yes. Cool. Well done. There's a part-time job coming up in the summer. If you apply for the job, and you get it, we'll help you study and become an assessor and a teacher and all these things. And basically then I was a teacher. And I used to share the job, and I used to do part-time, then I did 3/4 time, then I did full-time. And for probably the best part of 10 years, I did that job because it was well paid. But what I didn't ever want to be was a teacher. I never really thought about it. And I was relatively good at it. But the one thing that I always knew, and this is an evolution of the rest of my life, is that, excuse me, is that I want to coach, I want to teach, I want to enable, but I was in the wrong forum at that point in time. So getting caught in data, getting caught in marking test papers, getting caught in kids have to pass courses and speaking to parents and all this kind of stuff was not for me. And it was very apparent very early in my teaching career that that's where it was going to go. And then for those of you that have listened to some of the podcasts historically, I had, or was taken down, have had testicular cancer, and that basically put me out of action for 6 to 8 months. And during that time, one, obviously dealing with that, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't want to be a teacher because it's not where I want to be. And this point in my life, this experience is telling me that I need to move on. And it's quite interesting because I think the thing is then, I went back to work and very quickly, sorry, my phone is just pinging. I'm going to try and put that on silent. It's on silent. Don't know why it's pinging. It was very apparent very early that I wasn't going to go back to teaching. So I started my exit strategy. And then I basically decided that I was going to be an S&C coach or a personal trainer, and I was going to change the basketball world. I was going to coach every single child who wanted to play basketball in strength and conditioning and performance training so they could all get to the NBA. Problem with that is none of them have got any money, and they still don't have any money. Basketballers don't have money. But the original question, from AJ, like what do you have to work through for that? Like, it's really interesting because even now, like, I think about opening other businesses and working on other stuff and blah, 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 blah. I don't have any relative fear now. Like, I don't have any struggle or anything that makes me need to jump. And this is quite an interesting dynamic because after that point of when I was sick and I went back to the college and I knew that I didn't want to be there, it was really easy to pull the trigger, study, S&C, job done. Marketing, learn some more stuff. Find a gym to work at, quit your job. Go find some clients. Hustle, 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 hustle. But I was quite lucky. I landed on my feet. I landed at a good gym. The first place that I worked at full time. It was a private independent gym. I did very, very well out of there for years and years and years. And that was pre-COVID. And unfortunately, COVID took that gym. And then I changed gyms to where I am now at MSC. And I'm very lucky there as well. It's a very supportive, inclusive space. The members are amazing. I am able to work for the gym and work for myself. And also have my online stuff, so it works really well. But it's interesting going back, like making change when you're under pressure is really easy. Like really, really easy. When you're like uncomfortable and you're either like broke or you're unhappy or you're sad or you're sick, like change is instantaneous. Change is like a yes, no. It's like, right, let's go. And you just make that decision and you go with it. And you're like, right, I'm going to make this work. I'm going to pay rent. I'm going to put food on my own table. And I've been my own boss now probably for like 10 years, maybe just under. And I've never missed a payment on anything, because being your own boss means that you strive to pay for yourself for everything. So you don't have a fallback. There's no way back. Like there's no national insurance, sick pay. There's no private pensions like attached to your paycheck like when you're a teacher. So that element of stress will keep you moving forwards. And in that moment, I decided not to be a teacher and to be a coach. It was easy. And don't get me wrong, I am still learning. I'm still learning on the job, and I am like, oh my gosh, didn't know I need to do this. And oh my gosh, I've got to pay my taxes again. And all these things. But like the stress is your own. And the stress being your own makes it easier to manage. hold that thought. Bubbly water in my mouth. But it makes it so much easier because it's your stress. You're prepared to fight so much harder and work so much harder for your stress, because failure doesn't really work when you don't have rent money or petrol money or food money. When, you're being paid by someone else, it's easy just to be caught up in that and be sad and be upset. But you get your paycheck. But that's not what it's about. And I am not inspirational. I am not motivational like this. I'm not going to change people's worlds with these words. Doing what makes you happy. This is not new news. It's not new news. Doing what makes you happy is less stressful, even if you're working 80 hours a week, because it's your own. And you will water your own plants. That's a terrible saying. But you will do and go further and do more for your own business, your own projects, your own things than you will for anybody else's. And I love that people are, they take pride in their work and they're proud to be a teacher and blah, 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 blah. But that stress is not yours. And, I know 2, maybe 3 people who I worked at that college with who are not alive anymore. And that is not necessarily directly affected by them being a teacher, but the stress and anxiety and the things that they were doing outside of the college were an aspect of why they passed away. And me being sick was enough of a marker to be like, it's time to move on. I love coaching. I love educating. I love teaching. I love enabling. Oh, that sounds really weird. Enable. And being this version of my coach self is not my final entity. It's not my final destination. I will evolve into something else at some point. But you have to do what makes you happy. You have to find your space and run with it. And I don't really know if I answered AJ's question. But what I do know is that the government has people in positions like teaching and nursing and stuff like that where the reward is so small and the workload is so high that is making people sick, unhappy, and 1,000,001 other things, like depressed, anxious, alcoholic, abusive to themselves, because it's just so intense. And all I would say, and I hope, at some point, a really, really good friend of mine is a head teacher at a school, and I want to get him on the podcast, because I don't feel like he would be massively diplomatic about how the schools work. I think he would be quite open and honest. But the education system is broke. And for all of my love of teaching and educating and helping people, being a teacher was never going to be it for me, because I was just fuming at the lack of education. It was just about stats and money. And I feel like this is it's a bit pitchy patchy of whether I've answered the question that he asked. But sometimes change comes your way because the world is telling you to move and move forwards. And I was put in a position where I was given an opportunity to step away from teaching because I'd had 6-7 months off, and it gave me time and space to think about what I wanted from the world. And like I say, all of the things that came with that, like opening a business, figuring out how to pay taxes, like marketing, advertising, how do you get clients, how do you do this, how do you do that, all of that learning was easy because it was mine. And that enabled me then to affect positively and impact on people's lives in a positive way by being able to coach them and teach them. And, some people would argue that, there's different kinds of coaches, PT, strength and conditioning coaches, and I have a varying amount of clients, performance athletes and busy professionals. And I would say that coaching the busy professionals is as rewarding as coaching the performance athletes because the busy professionals probably need it actually more. Like performance athletes need direction because they're already focused. Busy professionals are stressed, they're tired, they're busy, they're time poor. They need health and well-being more than anyone. So having that impact day to day is greater or better rewarding wise. Anyway, if I didn't answer the question, I'm sorry. I got on an educational waffle, and I also got on a open your own business waffle. Do what you want. Do what makes you happy. Go find it, do it, and make it pay your rent. Doesn't work for everyone, but you got to be locked in. And as I said today on TikTok, you want to go find my TikTok. Go text someone. I had 2 people this week were buzzing around in my head, and I didn't know why they were there because I hadn't spoken to them for a while. But text your people, go check on your friends, go check on whoever it is. There's someone in there that's just like, oh, Karen's bouncing around in your head. Go text Karen because she might not be all right. So above everything, check on your people, do what makes you happy. This is a relatively long one for me, pushing into 17 minutes. Love you all. I appreciate everybody listening as always. There's a lot more to come from this. We are, there's only one of me. I am building big things. Scotty and Steve and Scotty are launching a YouTube channel and an Instagram and a TikTok and a brand. The SAS playbook will be live hopefully the next week or so. We are coming for everything that they told us we couldn't have. Peace out, people, and I'll speak to you all soon.
Welcome to the By Steve podcast.